of Swaziland is really sitting pretty. He is safer now than he has ever been before, and this opposition, these freedom fighters, freedom warriors, whichever name they give to themselves, have really failed. And people like Gauzela, apart from the charisma of singing and the charisma of how he looks like, I don't see what else they are doing. He used to promise a lot, to say, promising that in 3 days he can amass people to rise against the king. In a few days he can do a lot of things which he earnestly has failed to do or has forgotten to do. Apart from showing himself, speaking sometimes, of course, to keep himself in the public eye. What else has he done actually? What about the other opposition party? The Pudemo. Mlungisi, what is he doing? That one is sunk into the background, into the shadows, and actually I haven't posted a video in about a year, and after a year, the opposition, who are the people who are trying to fight the king and maybe assuring everybody that they had a lot of support, have really failed to live up to whatever promises they were making, because we actually don't see it. It doesn't exist. Rather, what we see is a king who is actually back in the driving seat. He's very strong as a king, and a lot of people, from what we can see from the Israel, all the gatherings that he has been doing, a lot of people have been coming there, and if we are to believe in the fairness of the voting that has been done recently, surely he has a lot of support. And we can't deny that, unless the opposition is trying to make us believe that, or trying to push us, to push our minds into the corner and believe that maybe because they are the opposition, or they are the alternative, they therefore are entitled to get, maybe their votes count twice because of that.
Nonkazi nanonke bekunene sinvusela kakhulu bekunene.
Which I don't believe, actually. I used it to really be in their corner fighting with them, but they failed to really live up to whatever promises they had made to the common people. And people are supporting Gauzela, I know. For nothing else apart from the fact that he's a handsome man with charisma, he's a singer. Of course, naturally people will support a singer. A singer will get supported because apart from the politics, people just love his singing. But we must make a distinction between a political leader who is up to help the cause of the people, or rather to push it forward, and a leader maybe who is just there because by virtue of his ability to sing and nothing else. Seriously, I don't see much happening in the opposition corner, because the political parties remain banned in Swaziland, and the 2 MPs who were imprisoned are still languishing in prison. The opposition has not been able to fight for their freedom and at least maybe free them from the chains of the king's brutality, or lack of pity, or lack of fairness, or lack of democracy. Because right now the king will claim that there's democracy. He's talking about electricity being everywhere. Of course, some of the things that he's saying are honestly true. I know of a place in Swaziland which used not to have electricity, but now deep in the rural areas, there's electricity now. I can't. I believe there are some roads that have been tarred, and a few other things that he did. As long as he can claim to really be doing something for the people, then he equally can lay claim to the vote that they give him. So in the end, I feel like the playing field in Swaziland is uneven, but the opposition are failing to fight to make sure it's even, and make sure that it's level, and they can fight on equal basis with the king. And this is really hopeless for the people. It's just doom and gloom, and it looks like there's no future for Swaziland opposition politics. It doesn't exist anymore. And Gauzela, I think it is out of shame and embarrassment that sometimes he has those uh, video, whatever, meetings or video presentations, whatever name you give to them, they are useless. They are not. They haven't produced any result in a year and plus some days or months. Nothing of significance has happened in Swaziland as far as I'm concerned. So really, I might try to. Sometimes you have to admit that maybe some people have just failed. Nobody's coming up in the open to make an open admission that we have failed as a party. And they say if you fail, to beat them, have to. You can as well just join them. Maybe they just have to join the king and make sure that they fight from the king's corner, and that will be that. The people of Swaziland will have to live. Besides, I think they love the kingdom. The people of Swaziland honestly love the kingdom. They don't want things to change. It's only that the king himself is selfish at times, and he doesn't consider the people in his amassing of wealth and his consumption of national treasure. He does it all by himself and his family and his immediate relatives, which is quite unfair. If he could just fairly distribute wealth, not fairly of course, but if he could remember the people when he is doing his distribution of wealth to his relatives and children and brothers and sisters, I think the people just love peace. That's what they want. They love peace, but they also want progress. They want their lives to change. And if he can do that, I think there will be nothing like political parties, opposition political parties in Swaziland. People would not entertain it because, honestly, who wants a war? Who wants a civil war? Myself, I wouldn't really campaign for it, honestly, because it's a bad thing. War is terrible. And if the king, only I'm begging the king, if you listen to this, to please just enjoy, share with your people. If you claim that it's a first world country now because people have voted freely, can really be of any essence, can be truthful to some extent, which I believe is not. Because if you are not allowing political parties, then what kind of democracy is that? Please, even if you don't allow democracy, because democracy doesn't mean that you are sharing. There are a lot of democracies around the world where people are not even sharing wealth. Democracies where political leaders use democracy to oppress the people and make sure that they enrich themselves and at the detriment of the common people. So I'm not going to talk about democracy. I'm talking about you as a king with these people. Swaziland is such a small country. You can reach everyone. You can share with everyone. And that country can be very progressive. And you can serve as an example of a leader who is autocratic, but at the same time progressive. A leader who has developed his country to the first world country, to the first world level. Like you claim, you like it. So if you speak it and preach it like that, why don't you just put it, be pragmatic about it, and make sure that you execute most of the things that you vocalize when you're talking, politicizing people. Of course, you're a politician, but I want to believe that you're a politician who also feels for the people. Because how can you enjoy wealth in a country where the people are so few and you can't even share with the few people that are your subjects? Really, I find that difficult to believe, Mr. Mswati, Makositiwe. Please, just share with your people. Look at Gauzela is now picking his nose because there's nothing that he can do. That guy is run short of ideas. I'm sorry to say so. I know a lot of people are going to say some nasty things about it. Don't support leaders because they are charismatic, and usually charismatic leaders can take you for a ride. And after all politicians are just out to enrich. Politicians are always dipping their hands into other people's pockets, never into their own. So a politician is such a frightening individual. So when they are campaigning, they are not actually campaigning to enrich you, they are campaigning to enrich themselves. That's my own thinking. So therefore, if the king is really doing something, is changing some people's life, like honestly, why not just tag along with him and maybe In between here and there, he might really develop Swaziland and it will be a very, very successful nation. This is my first video after a year, and I hope I'm going to get reactions from you like you usually react. I want to see reactions, people telling me what exactly is happening in Swaziland, because I haven't been able to look at most of the things that are happening there. But a general survey of the situation makes me conclude that nothing is actually changed. In fact, if there is any change for the opposition politicians, it has been changed for the worst. They are in such bad shape right now compared to what they were about a year back. They actually, people have gone silent about opposition politics, apart from the few dramatic stunts that Gauzela and maybe others of his kind try to pull on social media. There is absolutely nothing else that they are doing there. Nothing. Subscribe to the channel, please, and let us talk about these issues. Let us not be partisan. Let us not try to support people for the sake of their support. You support a political individual, and tomorrow they will betray you. Let us support the real action on the ground and what we see, and not promises. Promises that will not come to fruition will never save the interest of the people. Please subscribe to the channel. This is We Africa. Subscribe to this channel, please, and let us really put our comments out there and talk about what is happening in Swaziland. Thank you.